Hello guys, today we have this sample of a question. Uh, Remember, it's international trade tricks, and these are the countries: Portugal and England. We have wine per 1 unit, clothes per 1 unit, but we have different numbers of hours to produce those units of wine and cloth. This different combination from these different countries uh, showing us this is input question. Why? Simply because we have different input that is producing same what output. So now, if you are given a case like this, and the question maybe you have been asking some of the item of the question like this: opportunity cost, internal terms of trade, international terms of trade, and gain from trade. What you are supposed to do is as follows. Let me take you step to step. Okay, as we said, this is input question. If you are required to find opportunity cost and you've been given input question, the only formula is I or U, which means input questions, others goes under. So if you're given an input question, others goes under when you're finding opportunity cost. So let's find opportunity cost here. So let's assume in Portugal they have decided to produce wine and forgo clothes. So then 1 unit of wine will cost how much cost is when it comes to the sacrifice or the cost forgone. So 1 unit of wine will cost 80 over 90 costage of cloth. And maybe let's assume that Portugal decided to produce and export cloth. If that's the case, then 1 unit of cloth will be equal to 90 over 80 units of wine. This would be the internal terms of trade. Why? This would be the internal terms of trade simply because if Portugal decide to produce wine, she will forgo 80 over 90 costs in terms of cloth. And if she decided also to produce cloth, then she will forgo 90 over 80 costs in terms of wine. So let's check on the case of England. We find opportunity cost and we also will find the internal terms of trade. So now let's assume Portugal now decided to produce 1 unit of wine, or decided to produce one unit of wine. So if England decided to produce 1 unit of wine, what will we forgo? So our formula says input questions others goes under. So if you decided to produce 120, then other will be 100. So it will be 120 over what? 100 what? Cloth. And if England also decided to produce 1 unit of cloth, 1 unit of cloth, the guess now here will be 100 over 120. So now that's how you can find opportunity cost. That's the only simple way of you find opportunity cost. Okay, simply because input questions others goes under. And if there is a case here, maybe we have decided to produce wine and forgo clothes, so now it will be 8 over 9, as you can see. And 8 over 9 will be 0.89. And when it comes to clothes, 1 unit of clothes will be, the cost of it will be 90 over 8 of wines. That means 90 over 8 wine will be equal to 1.13 or 1.125. The same to England, you'll be doing the same. So This is how you can find opportunity cost, and that's how you can find internal terms of trade. So this is internal terms of trade. So let's check on international terms of trade. The international terms of trade will be very simple, and we'll be deciding to show the terms of trade international only if this country decided to specialize. So let's check on which country specializes on which product. For the case of Portugal now, Portugal, according to these opportunity costs, Portugal is having low opportunity costs when Portugal decided to export wine, or Portugal is having low opportunity costs when she decided to export wine and import clothes. So Portugal will specialize here. And when it comes to England, England will specialize here, because when England decided to export clothes and import wine, gain more. Why? Simply because England is having low opportunity cost when she decided to produce clothes and export clothes and also import wine from Portugal. So now the international terms of trade will be equal to one wine to one cloth. That means when it comes to international terms of trade, it should be Portugal will export wine and import cloth. And also England will export clothes and import wine. Why? Simply because when Portugal specializes on production of wine and export wine and also import clothes, Portugal uses low opportunity cost. And also England, when she decides to export clothes and import wine, she uses low opportunity cost. So when it comes to international terms of trade, the terms of trade will be one wine to one clothes. One wine from the side of Portugal and one clothes from the side of England. That will be our international terms of trade, and that's how you can write the terms of trade internationally. But remember, the internal terms of trade, this is how you can write the internal terms of trade. That means if Portugal decided to just produce domestically, it will produce 1 unit of wine to 80 to 90 unit of cloth. And also if she decided to specialize in production of clothes, also she will do 1 unit of clothes to 90 over 80 unit of wine, and as well as you can see to England. So this is a portraying of internal terms of trade, and this is a portraying of international terms of trade. I hope you understand on how you can find the international terms of trade. So I'm going to shift on the fourth part of it. So the fourth part is gain from trade. Portugal specializes on wine, right? 1 unit of wine. Oh, by that specialization, Portugal forgoes 80 to 90, which means 0 to 0.89 close. And England specializes on production and export of cloth. So 1 unit of cloth. So when she specializes on production and exportation of cloth, she forgo only 0.83 units of wine. So now, when it comes to specialization, after specialization, Portugal decided to produce and export wine. England decided to produce and export cloths. So now, the gain from trade, when these two countries are trading internationally, the gain from trade will be like this. Remember, when Portugal decided to produce 1 unit of wine, she forgot 0.89 unit of cloth. And when England, she decided to produce 1 unit of cloth, she only forgot 0.83 unit of wine. So now, that is to say, the gain from trade will be Portugal will gain 0.11 units of cloth, and England will gain or will get 0. The difference is 0.17 units of wine. That's the gain of trade, or that's the gain from trade after specialization. Why? Simply because, remember, Portugal decided to produce 1 unit of wine, and she forgot 0.89 unit of cloth internationally. But as Portugal exporting wine, she's also gained 1 unit of cloth from England. But previously, before importing 1 unit of cloth, Portugal, she was having ability of producing the unit of cloth 0.89 unit of cloth. But now she's gaining 1 unit of cloth in lieu of exporting 1 unit of wine. As she's gaining 1 unit of cloth in lieu of exporting 1 unit of wine, she's only gained from this trade 0.11 units of cloth, because previous she was having ability to produce only 0.89, but due to the trade, she's gaining more units of 0.11 units of cloth, in which previous she couldn't having that ability to do so. As well as to England, as she decided to export cloth, that means 1 unit of cloth to Portugal, she's going to gain 0.17 units of wine, because previous she was having the ability to only produce 0.83 unit of wine, but now she's getting 1 unit of wine in lieu of cloth when it comes to international trade. So the way you can write the gain from trade is Portugal should gain 0.11 more units of cloth, and England should get 0.17 more units of wine. So don't forget here the word more. More. So this is a simple illustration on how you can find the gain from trade. Remember, the gain from trade here is simply is that unit, so those units that you can gain after you decide to engage in international trade. And if we decide, if the country decide to engage in international trade, she gain what she can produce under the capacity of it. So that's it. So what I can say now, that's a simple illustration for now. So take it and go some step to step, so that you can know how you can find both opportunity cost, internal terms of trade, international terms of trade, and gain from trade. Thank you for now. This is your instructor. Welcome next time for more. Thank you.